If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes rabbit. He choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stacked that he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about... Wait.
And a very good morning to everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media, live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Smash that like button on Facebook and share button. On Twitter, retweet and like the show. And on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and turn the notifications on so you don't ever miss a moment when we go live. I'm your host, Bill Stifel, at Fear to Knowledge on Twitter. Make sure you shoot me a follow. Joining me today, instead of Monday, we get him to grace us on this Thursday. I love it. Mark Moschitelli at Mark_Wit_A_C. Mark with a C. Good morning, Mark. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, Phil. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic today. Well, I shouldn't say fantastic. I'm doing better than I was yesterday. Got a little sore neck this morning. You want to give me a little massage or something?
That's what your wife is for, dude. I'm not rubbing your neck.
No thanks. Rub that neck and all for me. Oh, man. So we got lots to talk about today. We are going to get a little bit more into this Texas tragedy from the other day. I know Mark wants to clear his mind and his thoughts as well. Jason and I covered and tackled the subject yesterday for the entire show. So I don't want to spend too much time on it because, Mark, I like this show to be not just positive, but kind of like an outlet for people to forget about what else is going on. You know, we talk fun of things, we do this and that. When there's serious issues, I don't mind tackling them. They're tough for me. You know, definitely gets me down. I mean, I won't lie. Yesterday, I was not in my normal cheery self all day yesterday after spending an hour plus talking about this tragedy yesterday. So I want you to have your time to have your piece on it. But then, you know, after that, we'll try to move on to some general sports topics just so that, you know, we can provide some entertainment for people this morning because that, to an extent, that's what we do here. We're entertainment purposes for other people that are plugging us into their Apple CarPlay, you know, listening on the way to work, listening at home, whatever it may be. So, do you agree with that part of it, though, Mark? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I watched your show yesterday, and it was a tough topic to cover. And again, we're a sports show, and we're certainly not geared toward having these hard, tough, important conversations. We're just a couple schmoes talking about sports, but sometimes we got to talk about those things. And you kind of tried to tie it into our athletes and entertainers need to do more. I don't know if I 100% agreed with that, Phil.
Fair enough.
I think the public, I think all of us need to do more. I don't think you should put it all on the shoulders of our athletes and entertainers, most of which are, let's be honest, morons. I mean, I don't want morons leading our country. We already have morons leading our country. And how's that working out for us? It's not. In a separate chat on Facebook with a friend of mine who posts like stuff to get people talking. I posted on what I thought the country should do. I harken back to 9/11. You remember 9/11, right? Dark time in the country, right? Within a year and a half of 9/11, the government created the TSA and the Department of Homeland Security within a year and a half to cover the threat of hijacking, terrorist attacks, stuff like that within a year and a half. if this country is serious about gun safety, as you mentioned, gun safety, not called gun control,
I haven't brought
gun
that.
safety.
I was going to mention that. Yeah. So my
Yeah.
wife brought up the point yesterday. When we were talking, because she never really watches the show, but she was eavesdropping on yesterday's show a little bit, and she said maybe that term "gun control" scares people, but if you call it gun safety, maybe some more people might get behind it, because the word safety doesn't sound like it's taking away your rights versus the word gun control sounds like to those people that they're losing their rights and stuff like that. For those that don't know what that means.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. And my thought was create a department of the government. Again, you grow your government. A lot of people don't like that, but if you want to keep guns and have people have access to it, create a department whose sole purpose is to ensure that the right people in this country have guns and the wrong people do not. The Department of Gun Safety, the Department of Gun Ownership in the United States, whatever you want to call it. And my thought process is complete elimination of assault rifles, with a 3-year window for anyone who owns it to turn it back into the government and get a substantial tax credit. And then, for shits and giggles, melt down all the steel of those guns and use it for steel girders for our infrastructure of our bridges and roads that are collapsing as we speak. I would also advocate licensing people who want to own guns similar to a driver's license or a CDL license, where you have to take tests. You have to renew every 4 years. And if you fail the test, you don't get a chance to own a gun. Sorry, you don't get a chance to own a gun, and you have to turn whatever guns at you in if you failed. I mean, these are all grand things, and I doubt that any of them will come to fruition. But if you want to own guns in this country, then you gotta take some ownership in your ownership of guns. With respect, people talk about illegal guns and whatnot. There was a good quote I saw somewhere: 99% of your illegal guns started somewhere legally. Somebody bought them legally. So you use the laws you already have on file and just make them stronger. The Violation of Uniform Firearm Act, the straw purchasing laws, like, make them so damn hard that like you don't want to be messing with that stuff, because you'll never see freedom again. The couple other things that I just off the top of my head that I came up with, it was the licensing piece. There was something else that I'm like you. I'm just like sick of talking about it, and I want to see some action. In the people that we have in office aren't.
You kind of sound like a politician, Mark. Should you be running for office? I mean, do you have a new career lined up here? Because you have a very politician type approach to talking about this.
So I am on our local ballot in my town. Thank you, Phil. If you're a Mantua Township District 1, please vote for me.
Like that little segue there.
And Phil, and that's kind of harkens back to what I said about, like, we all as a people need to get involved. I'm in my town here. I do a lot of volunteer work. I know a lot of people in my town. There are a small handful of people that have tried to hijack my town. Hijack it, and with conspiracy theorists, far right-wing, crazy stuff, and they come to all the meetings, all the school board meetings, all the planning meetings, and hijack every meeting. And I was tired of it. And I don't want to see people with those views, that they have every right to those views, but I have right to my views as well. My neighbors have right to theirs. I don't want them to get into a decision-making position in our town that could turn our town upside down. I don't want that. We live in a fantastic, fantastic town where I live, and I don't want to see that hijacked because of what people see on CNN or Fox or any of the far left or far right that's out there. Like, we should be a community that's coming together, not dividing. And we are, as a country, we are so far apart right now that I don't know if we'll ever be able to get back. And it's been since World War II, that we have been dividing to the point where I don't know if we can ever get back. I don't know.
I mean, you basically sum up a lot of what I said yesterday in the sense that we can't blame people for. I mean, we can blame people, but if you don't vote or if you don't actually make changes yourself or try to help, be the answer, just simple as voting and stuff like that for the right people, and there is no right person, but I I'm not trying to say who you should vote for and who you shouldn't vote for, but the people that are in office right now that we've been voting for how long aren't making any changes.
Correct.
So you got to take action, and I love to see that you're taking action in your town. That's a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah. I mean, I have this saying in Philadelphia, the head of the Democratic Party is, he may be retired now, but the head for the longest time was Bob Brady. And Bob Brady used to go door to door, and he'd give you a list of names that you needed to vote for at the time of voting. And I used to tell the people who would be complaining about how things are in Philadelphia, stop voting for people that Bob Brady tells you to vote for. And it's the same thing here, man. Like get to know who your candidates are and what they're really about and what their agenda. A lot of these guys are backed by, give you an example, Jim Kenney. Jim Kenney in Philly got elected because of Johnny Doherty. And then he turned his back on Johnny Doc, and now Doc is going to go to prison and stuff. Like, politics is ugly. It's ugly, ugly, ugly. If the more that we could get people who are unaffiliated with somebody who has an agenda, the better off we'll be. People that represent the people and not the lobbyist of a certain organization or a certain industry, because a lot of our politicians are bought by corporations and they answer to them and not the people. And that's where the big problem is.
That's true. All right. Anything else you want to wrap up on this whole thing? Because I think let's get back into the.
Yeah, that's. I just wanted to touch on it. You had a really.
I wanted to give you your time because I know me and Jason had a full hour yesterday to talk about it. We could have gone longer, but I want to get back to sports and the release, the entertainment value that this show should provide, the lightheartedness, even though it's not going to be a lighthearted conversation, it's going to be some pretty insane conversations we have to have here for the rest of the show. But if you're good, let's move back on to sports. Is that good?
Yeah, that's fine. You mean like the Phillies aren't lighthearted right now?
No, the Phillies absolutely suck. So, all right. It's funny because let me tell you something. So on Tuesday, I ran a solo show, and it was one of my favorite shows I ever did. I had an agenda of 3. When I go solo, I never know how long I'm going to ramble on a topic. So I've got 3 or 4 topics lined up. And the first topic I started with ended up taking up the entire show because there was great, participation from the listeners. It just my mind just kept moving and moving on it. And it was, who do we owe an apology to? And I'm going to get to you in a second with your, if you do. But, the name that I got the most comments on, the most tweets about, most everything, we all owe apologies to Howie Roseman. And I'm right there with you, or with most people that need to apologize to Howie Roseman. Before we get into the Howie Roseman discussion, why we owe him an apology, and the title of this show is, what's the blueprint for sustained success in Philadelphia? Howie Roseman has had, for the most part, pretty much sustained success. The Eagles, outside of a few times, the Phillies haven't made the World Series or the playoffs since 2011. How many times have the Eagles missed the playoffs since 2011? Twice? Maybe 3 times? So there is sustained success with this Eagles organization. There is a blueprint there. So we're going to talk about that blueprint and how it could translate to the other teams. But real quick, is there anybody in Philadelphia sports, history, currently, whatever, anybody that you want to apologize to for being so harsh on and so wrong about? Because I don't think it's Joe Girardi. I don't think we're wrong about Joe Girardi. I don't think I'll ever come on here and say, I'm sorry, Joe Girardi. But is there anyone you want to apologize to?
I think you guys mentioned them, or you mentioned it on the show, Ed Wade and Ruben Amaro Jr. I think.
See,
I mean,
Ed Wade is believable. Not many people liked my Ruben Amaro apology.
I in a text group, we talk about Ruben Amaro Jr. all the time, and I always tell him, "Hey, man, he's a Stanford grad. He's a Stanford grad. He's a very smart guy. Listen, he was born in Philadelphia. He's a Philadelphia guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was the bat boy for the 80 and 83 Phillies. He knows he played. He won a college World Series. He played professional baseball. He played on the 93 team. He played on the 95 Indians. I think he played in that World Series. The guy has a little bit of a track record. He learned under Ed Wade, and he ushered in like a different way of being a general manager in Philadelphia after all those years. Like he really forced the purse to be open to spend some money on some players. He really did. Ed Wade kind of set everything up because he drafted all of those players that allowed the Phillies to make that run from 2007 to 2011. And unfortunately, they kicked them out before they really had a chance to pick up speed. Pat Gillick was a placeholder. Pat moved a couple pieces here and there, albeit very important, and deserves credit as well. But he really didn't build this team. He, as you like to say, he picked the ancillary guys like Worth and Victorino, and made trades for like Jamie Moyer, things like that. He did those second tier moves that got them over the hump. And Ruben made splashes, and he made some good deals. This, shit happens is basically what happened. And I don't. He gets wrecked still to this day about his GM, and now he's getting wrecked on his on the announcing. But he's actually very good.
He's very intelligent.
Very good. And he is one of the sweetest, kindest Twitter follows out there. If you're not following him, I suggest that you do. I'd love to have him on the show.
Yeah, Ruben on the show. See, we're pumping up all this Ruben here now. Yeah. We're brown nosing to maybe he would come on the morning show.
And like I said, Ed Wade, nobody liked Ed Wade because like how he looked like an accountant, and he didn't have energy, but he knows baseball too. He came through the organization and worked his way up, and I think he did a damn fine job. And like you guys said, or like you said, he even helped us by trading us Brad Lidge. I mean, so when he was over at the Astros.
Yeah, and then he went on and built the Astros. Yeah. And then was let go before the Astros won their work. It's like he's like the guy that builds the team up and then needs somebody else to take him over the hump. But yeah, I agree with you on Ruben Amaro. But with Howie Roseman, look, we've all been harsh at some point in time on Howie Roseman, but there is a blueprint for success. He's built this team, sustained success. We've missed two playoffs since he's taken back over from Chip Kelly. The rookie year, Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson, and 2 years ago, the transition from Carson Wentz to Jalen Hurts season. They're the only 2 years since he's taken over that we've missed the playoffs. We went 17, obviously, with the Super Bowl, 18, 19, 20. Missed it in 21, then made it last year in 22. That doesn't happen by accident. Not in the NFL in the way we do it. So what is Howie Roseman's blueprint? In my opinion, it's obviously building in the trenches, being smart about your decisions and stuff, not always making this. He learned from his mistakes in the past. You don't always have to go out and sign Byron Maxwell or Nnamdi Asomugha or, those big name splash moves to be successful. You build a foundation, you build a culture, you build that trench type, thing. How is that translatable to the other teams and the other sports? Or is it even relatable and possible to do that in the other sports?
It's continuity and consistency, and I don't think it's a Howie Roseman thing. I think it's a Jeffrey Lurie thing. And he's another guy that we should apologize to. I know when he first bought the team, we made fun of him. When Joe Banner was there, we didn't really like him. But honestly, look at the organization since he bought the team and how it compares elsewhere. It's probably in the top 3 or 4 NFL organizations in the league. He might be a top 10 organization in all of American sports. And I'm not afraid to say that. So I do think it starts with Jeff, but continuity and consistency. Howie runs his deal. Pretty consistent. He wants to, yes, build the team through the trenches, a top-notch quarterback, and a head coach that more or less will follow his direction. It seems like that's his blueprint. And from a front office perspective, look at all the people that get plucked from our front office all the time. They make fun of him saying, well, this is like a GM academy here, but it really is. I mean, we have some good people in that front office that can help keep things in line and not constant negative turnover. I think they have positive turnover. You get people promoted and the next person's in, next man in, and then so on and so forth. And that's the way you really should run an organization, is you build a bench until you need that guy to fill that hole for when that guy leaves for a better opportunity. And you have to understand you cannot keep everybody here. So you do need to keep kind of turning things over, just like a business that you run, Phil. I mean, you want to keep your core people there, but you want to build them up, the lower guys, for when those core people do leave, so you can slide people right in. It's the same deal here, and I love how the team has been run. I mean, look at the history again since he bought it in '94 and compare it to any other organization. I'd put him up against any organization out there.
I would put it up that since he bought the team in '94, we're probably in the top 2 or 3, 5 in playoff appearances in that stretch. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we made it, 2 out of 3 in the Ray Rhodes era. We made it probably 70, 80% of the time in the Reed era. 3 out of 5 with Doug Peterson, 4 out of 5 with Doug Peterson, whatever it was. 1 for 1 with Nick Sirianni. So, I mean, the success track record there is, I mean, it should be the blueprint for every single team in the NFL and every single organization in sports, honestly, because that's the definition of success right there.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you, man. Or the grass isn't always greener on the outside. These corny sayings, but they're true, man. Would you rather be the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Right.
Is that the team that you aspire to be, or maybe like the Chicago Bears? Do you want to be the Chicago Bears? Older team, but they can't get their shit together. They haven't for a long, long time.
I mean, they made a Super Bowl, but it didn't matter because they had one good run and then the team just blew up again,
Their consistency. And I really appreciate that because, listen, we grew up in a time where Norman Brayman owned the team. And he did everything on a shoestring budget, man. And they were lucky to have that small success, but they should have been much, 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 much better. And then the team stunk in the early 90s. The team stunk from 81 to 88. Really, when has this, in the last 28 years, when has this team been really, really bad? 1 season, 2 seasons, seasons in 28. That is less than 10%. That's like 7% of the seasons.
Yeah, that's fair. But so this blueprint of success, is it translatable to the other sports, like the Phillies or the Sixers? Is there something that Howie and Jeffrey do that Josh Harris and Daryl Morey could do, or Dombrowski and Middleton can do to, not build an immediate, like the Phillies aren't going to look at what Howie Roseman does and then tomorrow start winning for the next 10 years. But is there something that Howie and Jeffrey do that, say, Dave Dombrowski and John Middleton could start implementing so that we don't have an 11-year stretch without winning a World Series or making a playoffs, let alone winning a World Series? Is there a way you could translate it to the Sixers where it's not just frustrating, good regular season, frustrating playoffs every single year with constant controversy surrounding the team? Is it translatable to the other sports?
It should be. And I think the Sixers are closest to it. I mean, they have a star general manager. No matter what you think about Morey, I mean, he is a good general manager.
BS. Totally.
I think he's
never led a team to the finals. I think he's led one team to a conference finals, and that's it.
Okay, he was in Houston, and he had to go through Golden State, which was a behemoth. So
all he did was trade for James Harden, and that was it in Houston. He gave Eric Gordon a massive contract that no other team in the league would have given him.
But you're talking about consistency. I mean, you have a guy like Elton Brand, who's still in the front office, a Duke grad, a smart guy. You have Morey.
It's the first time I've ever heard you compliment a Dookie before.
Well, I mean, listen, you don't just get to go to Duke and play basketball. You have to have some smarts about you. I'm not afraid to say that.
Scotty, are you listening?
They have, I mean, they have a front office that can be what the Eagles are now. They do. They have a center, a superstar, and that's a blueprint for the NBA. You need 3 superstars. You need 3 superstars really to make a team very competitive, and they're very close to doing that. I don't have a huge problem with the Sixers are doing right now. If they constantly start turning over GMs and whatnot, you're going to be starting over and over and over again. I do have a problem with the Phillies. For the longest time, whether you liked them or not, whether they were successful or not, they had a lot of continuity in their front office. They really did. And it really took off in 2000, whenever Boa got there, 2001. They kind of got their stuff together from 2001 to like 2011. The team was really good. Even those Boa teams were pretty decent, and they were always getting close to the playoffs. Once they got that stadium, they got an injection of money into their budget, and then they signed this huge Comcast contract. So they're printing money. They have money to do what needs to be done. I think how Middleton is handling it, though, he doesn't know what to do to put the right leader in to run the organization. First, he went with Clentac and McPhail, and he grabbed McPhail because he has a history of baseball and whatnot, and then he got rid of those guys, and now he's got Dombrowski, and they're flashy names, but they're not doing anything flashy here to fix things.
So is it more like that? Maybe they're trying to catch up with big splashy moves in the office.
Correct.
Stopping, like I keep saying, take one step back to take 2 steps forward, and that's what they kind of need to do, right?
I agree with that, and I think, but Middleton wants immediate gratification, and that's why he's hiring Joe Girardi and signing Bryce Harper and plucking Dave Dombrowski. He's getting like these big names. He's getting these big names.
Trying to translate what George is saying to the Phillies, like Jeff and Howie's vision doesn't always jive with the fans, and that's why people don't like them. Dombrowski and Middleton are trying to impress the fans, so instead of making it a building process and building that culture and foundation so you have the sustained success, he's just reaching for the splash moves, whether it works or not. Whether it's a smart move or not, he's just making that big, bold move constantly, whether it's Dombrowski or Castellanos or whoever it is. But that doesn't build the long-term success.
And how's that worked out for them?
Exactly. They don't have sustained success because they listen to the fans versus, the Eagles, they're just doing what's been working. They don't care what the fans say. I mean, I'm sure they hear what the fans say, but they don't care what the fans say. And I think that's the difference right there between the two organizations.
What is it they say is the GM who listens to the fans will end up sitting with the fans, and that is true. And to George's point, I don't agree with everything that they do, but they keep winning. They keep winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, the key is hiring right people and let them do their job. You do that.
Yeah.
It's and that's with any business. If I am a general manager or CEO, I hire the people to put in the right positions to do the jobs that I need done, that they're subject matter experts in that area, and I delegate and follow up. Delegate and follow up. That's how a successful organization is run. When you try to be Jerry Jones, that doesn't work. And how have the Cowboys been since their last Super Bowl win?
How many times have they made the playoffs since they're in this decade? Not this decade, in this century. You know what I mean? So exactly.
Yeah, I mean the Phillies need some continuity somewhere, and they can't just keep turning over presidents and front office folks for the sake of doing that. Like they need some structure and they need some continuity, and it's going to take a little bit of time. Who's that assistant general manager they got? Is that Sam Fold? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's the guy. I think they're kind of grooming to be the guy. But everything remains to be seen. And I think, again, that's part of what the Phillies' problem was. Look, how many times did you hear, hey, we need to sign Didi, re-sign Didi. We need to re-sign JT. Hell, Middleton was the guy that signed Bryce, not Clentak. He went over his head, dude, and did that. And while Bryce was a good signing, there's nothing around them has worked out. We're just buying these fancy new cars and they're just sitting in the driveway. That's basically what we're doing.
Some fancy new cars, but everybody can't. I mean, you look at the Eagles' sustained success not only in the front office, but if you look at it, you look at the 17th Super Bowl team, or the Andy Reid era as a whole. There was constantly good drafted players that came up and replaced as necessary. Offensive linemen, defensive line. There was constantly a pipeline and a development of their young guys. You look at the Phillies' success in the 06. If you want to go back to 05, 06 through 2011, there's constantly a development and pipeline of young, homegrown talent that you developed. The Eagles still have that now. I mean, you look at the Eagles team now. Yes, they brought in A.J. Brown, Hassan Reddick, but you still got the Jordan Mailatas and the young guys, the Avonte Maddox, the Dallas guys, the guys that we've been grooming and bringing up. And then you add the extra pieces to the current Phillies now. I mean, is there anyone? Aaron Nola is the only, probably, is he the only semi-successful player on our current roster that we developed and brought up? Because I don't know if you could put Rhys Hoskins in that, because Rhys Hoskins isn't really major. I don't know. Maybe Rhys Hoskins, you could consider semi-successful. I don't know. But there is no, just as much as you want continuity with the front office, you want that pipeline of young talent coming through the organization.
Everything starts on the farm. I agree there. Like you have to build your team, a baseball team, through your farm system. And we haven't been able to do that for quite some time. Hopefully with Alec Boehm and Bryson Stott and Mickey Moniak coming up, and some of the other players that are down there now that could be making impact in a few seasons from now, will slowly get there. I don't want to see them trading those pieces elsewhere for a stopgap, because I don't think that is the answer. And they need to really kind of hit a home run on the next few drafts, and it's going to take a while. Hopefully by the time Schwarber's contract and Cassiano's contract are expiring, these other players are ready to fill the gaps and make the impact that we need them to. So the Phillies really need to build through the farm system, and they are not there yet, but hopefully they'll get there.
I don't even remember exactly. This is before these shows, before I was even on Twitter. I remember reading something somewhere once. It might be 8-10 years ago. I don't even know what team it was talking about. There was a team that won the Super Bowl that not one of their starters was signed going into that season in free agency. All 22 of their starters were either people they drafted or had picked up years prior and brought through their team and developed a core group. So it works in football just as much as baseball. And I think that article went on to say that 2 of the last 3 or 2 of the last 4 Super Bowl champions didn't have starters brought in free agency. They brought in key pieces, bench players, role players, rotational guys. But even in football, if you look at the 2017 Eagles, how many of the starters were free agents that year? I mean, Chris Long wasn't a starter; he was a rotational piece.
LeGarrette Blount.
LeGarrette Blount was split with J.J. They were both kind of brought in.
But they're all brought that season.
Yeah,
Alshon.
exactly.
Alshon?
Was he that season or was he the year before? Was he did he get
No,
brought
it was
in
that season.
All right, so it's not exactly, the same with that 17 team. But a big majority of that 17 team was, I don't want to say homegrown, but had been here for at least a year. Ronald Darby as well. Yeah, absolutely. He was brought in too. Man, we won with Ronald Darby. Man, I forgot about that guy right there. Oh, man. Anyway, but there's still that whole piece. And it's different in basketball because you do need 3 stars, to win in the NBA. Speaking of 3 stars, I'm sure you saw the tweet from Joel Embiid. Does Miami need a 3rd star? How do you feel about Joel Embiid saying that? And do you think he's saying let's ship James Harden down to Miami? Or are you thinking he says, I want to go to Miami? Because I have talked about this, that Joel Embiid might at some point just say, F it, I want out of Philly. If you're going to keep giving me this kind of crap.
I'm going to pray to God that he means James Harden to Miami. We can't allow him to leave. And I find it peculiar that he said that once Bradley, the information came out that Bradley Beal's ready to sign a $250 million extension with where's he at? The Wizards. That concerns me. It concerns me that he may want out of Philadelphia. I think he loves it here. I think he loves the city. I think he loves the attention that he gets here. I don't see him as a Miami guy. He doesn't drink. He doesn't party. He goes home with his kid and plays video games. Miami's not for him, the town. But Jimmy Butler's there. Yeah. And Jimmy Butler's his guy. And that's where they –
So I want to say I did see some rumors of some potential trades. Just rumors, nothing. This is not substantiated. This is not, Windhorse or Woj saying this. This is just rumors. But first off, before I even get into them, I would love it. It's not going to happen, but I would love that Harden to Miami for Jimmy Butler to come back to Philly. I don't care how much older he is. It would make Joel Embiid happy to have Jimmy Butler back on this team. But sending Harden in a sign and trade to Miami, this is what you would get back. You would probably get back Kyle Lowry because it helps with the salaries, and Duncan Robinson. Would you be happy with that? Even if it costs maybe, a Matisse Thybulle to sweeten the pot for Miami, maybe you get an extra draft pick back if you throw Matisse in there as well. Is Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson instead of James Harden, does that make us a better team?
Well, Duncan will give Embiid a capable backup, correct?
Well, Duncan Robinson's a sharpshooter. He would most
sharpshooter? I thought he was a center.
No, Duncan. Well, he's a big guy, but he's a sharpshooter. He actually fell out of the rotation in the playoffs. He didn't play much in the Sixers series, but coming into the season, most of the season in his career, he's a massive 3-point shooter. He's like
we could use a sharpshooter, so I would take them.
Bench. He'd be basically a bigger version of JJ Redick. He plays terrible defense. He doesn't do much else, but the guy can shoot.
Lowry's a Nova guy, so I like him, but he's on his last legs, man. I'm glad that we didn't sign him or go after him.
I was firmly against that one.
I mean, I don't know, dude. Harden, do you think he's going to reset and refresh come September, October when we start the season?
I don't know. I have no idea. This is not the first year. This is his 3rd team. If he got traded to Miami, that would be 4 teams in 4 years. Something's off with a guy that's that good that has to go to that many different teams. But there was also the thought before he got traded to the Nets, when he asked out of Houston, the first team he said he wanted to go to was Miami. So the nightlife of Miami, where you say it's not ideal for Joel Embiid,
It's totally ideal for Harden.
Harden written all over it.
Yeah.
All the clubs, all the DJs and the celebrities that hang out down there, that's got James Harden written all over it. So that's what I'm hoping Joel Embiid meant there. I am. I mean, Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson? Duncan Robinson would improve our bench. He's probably a younger, better version of George Niang. He's not going to get as tired as George Niang got at the end of the season. That's basically the best comparison. He's going to not tire as much as George Niang did. And Kyle Lowry is going to miss 20, 25 games just like James Harden does because of bad legs and knees.
Let's be honest. Is the Miami Heat going to do a deal with the Sixers?
KC checking in saying Harden will be in better game shape if there's no injuries. Can't do cardio on a bad hamstring. Yes, that was the Ian Shumpert video. He shared it in the group chat. I
saw something, but I didn't look at it.
Ian Shumpert about talking about Harden, and Harden was fat. They were basically asking him if Harden was fat and out of shape. He's like, dude, he had a hamstring issue. He couldn't do cardio for a while. Like, yeah.
He don't look like a guy that does Zumba classes, if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm curious to see what Harden would look like at the beginning of next season if he comes.
I haven't had you on since all this. What would you give Harden? I mean, we keep talking about. Do you want Harden to opt in and just take his 1 year, $47 million or whatever it is? Do you want the Sixers to try to convince him to take?
I don't want to.
3 year, $85 million, 2 years, $75 million.
No, I don't want him on this team.
I don't want him at all.
I mean, if you could trade him, great. If you can't, run it back with him 1 year. He's, I think, a problem, but the bigger problem is our head coach. And there's still some things floating out there about him going to LA. Dude, if LA wants him that bad, trade him for LeBron James. I'll be glad to take that trade because I know they don't want LeBron there anymore. And you think Embiid would complain with LeBron coming here?
Man, I really thought LeBron was going to come here when Ben Simmons was here because him and Ben are, that's his little mini me and everything. But do you want LeBron here in Philly? You ship Doc Rivers or Glenn Rivers, sorry, I bet wrong name. Glenn Rivers and James Harden out to LA for James Harden?
For LeBron? Hey, now we're talking. Now that's a GM deal that I could get behind. Yeah,
you get Maxey, LeBron, and Embiid as your big three. You ship Tobias off for some bench help.
Yeah, as much I am not a LeBron fan, but I can't deny the fact that he's probably the best player, at least this generation's best player.
He's not the best player. He's not better than Michael Jordan, but
yeah. Jordan played in a different era. I don't think LeBron would last in the 80s and 90s. I think he'd get the shit knocked out of him. But LeBron is, even at age 37, he's really good. He really is. And if he was on the Sixers, I think it would change a lot of things, especially with Embiid there. And listen, they're not going to get him, but the problems with the Sixers are tied into Glenn Rivers,
good job, got the right
Harden's performance or anticipated performance, and their bench. Those are the three things that are really big question marks. And Morey has proven that he can build a bench. He did it, but he traded away for Harden. So he's got to do it again this offseason. Build a bench that has a shooter coming off, that has somebody that can give Embiid a breather or two and not go in the tank. And, that coupled with maybe Harden come back with his batteries recharged, maybe we can go further than we did this year. But, if it's a quarter through the season and it ain't working, Morey's got to make a blockbuster deal. He's got to break things up.
Real quick, I do want to bring up, you backtrack to a second. You said, Bradley Beal probably signed that big Supermax extension there. You're talking about LeBron, and Joel, and you need 3 stars to win the NBA. Everybody's always bashed like LeBron and these guys that form these super teams. But yet on the other side, people are still bashing Bradley Beal and Dame Lillard for wanting to stick it out in the cities that drafted them and gave them their start, even though those teams are never going to be able to compete with any of the big threes in the NBA. Why do you think people can't? Is it just simple jealousy that these guys won't come to Philly? But it's like the people we listen to on social media, they bash the big threes and the people that buy their super teams, but yet they bash the guys that stay loyal to their cities because they won't come to Philly. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, people are nuts. People are nuts. I
give major respect to Beal and Dame Lillard for wanting to try to stick it out in their cities and at least build something in those cities. Even if it's not, but I have major respect for that.
I do too. They should be part of the solution, and not run the minute some adversity pops up. And that's what a lot of these players do. Is just they're. I don't like how I call it reverse collusion. The players collude together to form these super teams so they can hang out with each other and play. NBA is like the biggest culprit of that, and I just don't. I don't like it. I just don't. Listen. I like the fact that like those players want to stay at their teams and try to build something, but them staying there might preclude that team from actually able to do something because of the massive contracts and maybe their deteriorating play, especially with Lillard. Lillard's been in the league for a little bit.
32, I think right now.
Yeah, I mean him at a max deal at 32. What kind of help are you going to be able to get him unless you draft really, really well? But you're going to have to miss the playoffs a few years. And then you're going to start asking yourself, well, why do I have Lillard on the team to begin with if we can't make the playoffs? It's a conundrum.
You mentioned LeBron James had that pipe dream wish there. What about the other pipe dream? I saw some people tweeting yesterday, and I commented on it as well. What about Kevin Durant in Philly? Would a Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant? Because Kevin Durant, obviously Brooklyn it's about to blow up in Brooklyn. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons. That whole thing, it's just somebody's going to get pissed off and leave. Ben Simmons might not play there. Kyrie Irving, who knows if he stays or not. Kevin Durant might be upset. What's that?
I already saw a report that they're not going to offer Kyrie a long-term contract. I'm pretty sure I just saw that. Durant owns the Philadelphia Union, so he has ties here.
So he owns a portion of the Philadelphia Union. He has actually, even though him and Embiid have gone face-to-face, in-game heat of the moment, Kevin Durant was the first athlete, the first basketball player to stand up and speak on on his behalf, saying he deserves the MVP. And he said again the other day, he deserves to be All-Pro. The fact that Joel Embiid is not first-team All-Pro, he is I forget the stat. He's one of. There's only two players that have done what Joel Embiid's done and not made first-team All-Pro. The two names, Joel Embiid and Joel Embiid, in the last 22 years, is the only player. I forget what stat it was, scoring leader or the points per game average that he had and the rebounds and stuff like that. There's only two times it's ever happened. Both times it was Joel Embiid not making first team. So anyway, long story short, there is connections between Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid.
All right. So how do we get Embiid
more realistic?
How do we get him from Brooklyn here?
You're probably looking. I mean, if you get James Harden back over to Brooklyn, that'd be great. But I doubt that's going to work. Do you get Tobias Harris and Matisse Thybulle? Is that a starting point? I think they wanted Matisse originally in the Ben Simmons trade, but because of the vax thing, they didn't. Now the vaccination mandates lifted up in Brooklyn. Is a Tobias Harris and Matisse? Is that enough?
No, not even close, dude.
I don't know. I'm trying to come up with something here.
Oh man, it's like
if he wants out.
First of all,
the thing with the NBA players control. If Kevin Durant says, "I want out," and these are the two teams I want to go to, or the one team I want to go to, the Brooklyn Nets have no choice. They take whatever the Sixers can give them, as long as the salaries match up.
I would tell you that a front court of Embiid and Durant could not be stopped. Like nobody's going to stop that team.
Maxey, if you could have a big three of Maxey, Durant, and Embiid, just give us the title now.
They would score 140 points a night, and it wouldn't be close. They would run roughshod through the entire league. But
they could give a max deal to Kyrie Irving, the Brooklyn Nets, and take Kyrie Irving, Tobias Harris. Neither of those guys play defense, so you got Matisse Thybulle as your defensive guy. They'll have Joe Harris coming off the bench. They still got Seth Curry. They can convince their fans that that's good enough as long as they're building around Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, but
then they can trade Ben Simmons to Atlanta for whatever they wanted to. You know, I can see it. I'm trying to give you a scenario where this is possible.
Listen, I would welcome
reaction Monday.
Kevin Durant to the team. I would, but why would Brooklyn do that deal? That basically would put a wall up in front of them. They would never be able to get out of the East. They would never. You're basically making your competitor, your direct competitor, better. So, and that's why I never understood why teams make deals with. For example, the Eagles made a trade with the Cowboys on draft day. Why would you do that? That's stupid. Yeah. You know, why did the Nets make a deal with the Sixers on Ben Simmons? I mean, why would you do that where you're going to have to ship your guy out someplace else so he's not going to be able to hurt you? Yeah. I don't know.
Highly unlikely, just sarcasm. Yeah. I feel like it's overreaction Monday right now.
It's overreaction Thursday.
Kevin Durant to Philly, but you know, hey, it is what it is, right? It's highly unlikely, but there is, like I said, a little glimmer of a little thread there with Kevin Durant's attachment to Philly. You know, wouldn't he like to live closer to his Philadelphia Union?
Yeah, right in Chester. I'm sure he would like to buy a mansion there. I'm sure.
We made a deal with the Cowboys so we could screw the Giants. That is true. That is very true. It breaks my heart because that made Micah Parsons go to the Cowboys. And we know Eagles weren't going to draft Micah Parsons. But everybody knows that was my number one target last year in the draft.
But didn't they also draft CeeDee Lamb with that pick?
We tried to get ahead of the Cowboys for CeeDee Lamb, but Atlanta wouldn't make the deal with us. So we didn't make any. That was the year before with CeeDee Lamb. We couldn't get that.
Hey, George,
I was crying in my pants when we traded McNabb to Washington. Everybody knows how much I loved Carson Wentz because that's the time frame I've been doing these shows and on Twitter. But if there's Twitter and if I was doing podcasting back in the day, you guys would have been nauseous with my Donovan McNabb love. That's why I apologized to Terrell Owens on Tuesday because I owed Terrell Owens an apology because I took Donovan's side so strongly back during that whole,
George, when that trade happened, it happened on Easter Sunday, if I recall. And I was terrified. And I thought that was a dumb trade. But Andy knew a hell of a lot more than I did because he was cooked.
And they gave him and as soon as the trade news of Donovan to Washington broke, 3 seconds later, there was this news breaking of him signing a $100 million extension with Washington. And we're all freaking out and all. But then it came out days or maybe a week or two later that it wasn't really a $100 million deal. It was really a 2-year deal with a lot of, voidable years. That's the thing with NFL contracts. Until you see the whole deal on paper, you can never react to a contract. Even James Bradbury, when we signed him a few, was it 2 weeks ago? Everyone's like, oh, it's a 1-year, $10 million deal. But it really turns out it's only a 1-year, $6.5 million deal with a hell of a lot of incentives tacked on that could get it up to $10 million. So many NFL contracts, there's so much complexity in them that until you see the whole deal written down, it's so hard to react to them. And we overreacted to the Donovan deal, and we shouldn't have. So, yeah, absolutely agree.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. All right, real quick. I know we got about 5-6 minutes left. We could talk about it now, and I'll pick it up again more tomorrow. I know you want to talk about the Chris Infante tweet from yesterday.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Do you want to bring that? Do you have it? You have it to bring up or no?
Let's see if I can bring up some of it here. I mean, because it's over 4 pages, so I don't know if I can bring it all up.
I'm going to try to look at it on the phone.
Yeah. I don't want to read the whole thing live on the air. I know you want to bring this up and comment on it. Yeah, that's just too small here on the screen to share out, I think. Anyway, so basically, Chris Infani tweets out this thing yesterday. And I've been following Chris. Chris has been following me. We've been interacting for years on Twitter. He writes for the Philadelphia Sports Network. He does the Flippin' Birds pod. He's a good guy. At least he seems it. He's turned us down to come on the show. Yes, George. Mark asked to give a little comment on this thing. So we are giving Mark time to comment. All right. So basically, long story short, he shares a DM conversation with somebody's brother's mom's uncle, nephews, cousins, next door neighbors, cab drivers, Uber drivers, whatever, about a conversation and a situation between Howie and Carson Wentz. And long story short, Howie tearing apart Carson Wentz, cussing at him, yelling at him, threatening him. Carson Wentz throwing up like all the other quarterbacks in Philadelphia do. This whole long thing. It's completely insane, in my opinion. Completely insane. But is it, Mark?
I always say that there are three sides to a story. In this case, Wentz's side, Howie's side, and the real truth. So I would not doubt that Howie did go in that locker room and was furious because, honestly, at the time, maybe Howie's job was kind of on the line right now. But you look what happened after that. Like, didn't they sign him to the big contract afterwards? But like the texting with the smile, with the emoji, like, did that really happen? I don't think so. I think Wentz is a guy that has never taken blame for anything that he's ever done, and it's not his fault that he got a concussion during that game.
I mean, the whole part of the conversation where Howie is, threatening him to get back in, concussion or not, that's in and of itself asinine because the team has no control. Concussions are independent. There's an independent concussion specialist at every single game for each team. So nobody on the Eagles had to say there. So that part of it, that just proves the flaws in this whole entire thing.
That I agree, but I bet you Howie did go in that locker room raising hell. What the hell is going on here? What's the problem? Why aren't you in the game? Maybe he didn't have the full deal on what was going on. Yeah. Yes, and he almost made a comeback this week. We can talk about that too. But Wentz is a guy, I think that tweet and that private message just further solidifies Carson not willing to take any responsibility for anything. And, another guy that we apologized to, right, Phil, was Joe Santaquito, the gentleman that wrote that article, that there was probably some truth or a lot of truth to that. And it further solidified in Indianapolis where Irsay wasn't taking any shit and said, get this guy out of here. I don't want him here. He's bad for the organization. So from a talent perspective, can he play football? Can he throw the football? Can he do things on the field and be successful? Yeah, probably. But he's a piss poor leader, and it doesn't sound to me like a lot of people like him. And if you want to be a quarterback, you have to be at least respected, and and you have to be a leader as a quarterback. You can't rely on your left tackle to lead. The quarterback has to lead, man. Between this and Jim Irsay talking about Carson's like a lead, yeah, it's the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm sorry to the listeners of this show. We're going to continue with this I am sorry thread for a long time because I love the topic. Who are we sorry to and all? And yes, George, one more time. I am sorry, George Mailata, okay? George has begged me to say I'm sorry to George Mailata like 100 times because I was wrong. No, I have not, George. Have been showing your messages whatsoever. I don't even remember what I was saying. I am sorry to the people that had to listen to me and read my tweets ad nauseum about my love for Carson Wentz because I was wrong about my love of Carson. I had him going into, was it the 2021 season? I think it was the 2021 season, as the 4th-ranked quarterback in the NFL. The 4th best quarterback. Boy, was I wrong on that one. Yeah, it's right. George and Mark, you guys should chat more often because you guys do have a lot of the same opinions on a lot of things. Yeah.
First and foremost, I am happy to see George is commenting again and he's back when watching the show. Secondly, I would love his British accent on our show. So he's welcome to come on whenever I'm on. I'd love to talk football with him.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to wrap up the show there for the day. We got so many things that we didn't even cover. We didn't really talk Phillies. I wanted to talk Colin Kaepernick. We never got into that. It looks like there's a chance he might be making a return to the NFL. It's a good thing we do this show every single day of the week. So I'm going to be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where the conversation will take me, but we got lots to talk about. So, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Mark, for joining me this morning. Great to have you on a different day.
Absolutely.
It was really good today. Thank you to everybody that was watching, comment. Make sure you're sharing the show out, liking the show, thumbs up, subscribing, all that great stuff. It helps us to continue to grow the brand, continue to grow the show. So we greatly appreciate all that, Mark. Have a great day. I do remember you saying before we went live, it's your daughter's prom today.
It is.
Hopefully, that is great. I hope. Mark, I got to ask you, with
Yes.
your daughter, are you a crier? You see her get all dressed up tonight, and her boyfriend her date take her away. Are you going to cry?
I'm a crier, but I won't cry tonight. Unless my wife starts crying, then I'll cry because it gets infectious.
Yeah.
I am a very emotional guy, but I don't think I'll cry tonight.
My father-in-law is like that. You can just see it. He loves to give speeches at events and make a big deal. I obviously wasn't around with them when my wife or my wife's sister went to their prom and stuff like that. But he gets this whole thing and he goes and he tries to hold it back, and then it's just waterworks for him. No matter what the situation is, always. We had a surprise birthday party for him this year. And it was like 15 people. We rented out back of a restaurant room and stuff like that. And he came in and saw everybody. And then it's just waterworks for the guy. Always. He wants everybody to watch it. So I hope this is the moment that he's watching right now.
Yeah, most guys are criers. It's just they're not afraid. They're afraid to admit that. Yeah. Yes. My mother will start crying tonight. My dad won't, but yes, my mom will. My dad, no, not really. He's a rock. He doesn't. Sometimes he'll
That's
cry.
that old school Italian mentality.
Yeah, they're not allowed to. They weren't allowed to.
I'm not allowed to. No. I'm not a crier either.
I am. I get emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, listen. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I was inconsolable. I couldn't be helped.
I didn't cry for the Eagles Super Bowl. I cried for the Phillies World Series, but I did not cry for the Eagles Super Bowl.
Cried for that as well.
I think I had a heart attack on the Super Bowl. I kind of fell over after the deflection, and my wife and my dog came over and had a check on me because I kind of fell to the ground. And I literally think I may have slightly passed out for like 3 seconds there. I won't lie. I'm not sure.
I was hyperventilating the better part of that entire game. I was breathing really, really heavy. I went Facebook Live from the fumble to the end of the game, and I was hyperventilating the entire time. And the people were saying, calm down, take a deep breath, relax, drink some water.
When that Hail Mary went up and it fell to the ground, I mean, all I kept thinking was there's got to be something else. There's got to be a flag. The refs are going to say there's one more second on the clock. Or every negative energy piece of Philadelphia Eagles, in me came out at that moment. Like, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something else. So that's why I didn't cry, because I was so like, what's going on? There's got to be something else happening here. There's no way this is happening for us. So the Phillies, it was different because I don't know. We all love the Eagles.
I like happy tears, Phil. Happy tears are good.
Absolutely. Happy tears. I don't cry happy tears. I'll cry sad tears sometimes, a funeral or something like that, but that's it. Yeah. I'm that old school Italian mentality. I'm not allowed to cry.
It's all good, brother.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up for the day. All the best to you and your family with prom. For those that don't tune in tomorrow or Monday, it's Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you're all safe and have fun this weekend. It's going to rain a lot this weekend in this area. So, we'll be live.
Are we doing a Memorial Day show?
I mean, I'm doing a Memorial Day show.
Okay.
To join me is more than welcome to do a Memorial Day show with me. I mean,
so I'll be on Monday and I'll be on next Friday. I'm off on Friday.
We're going to get 2 days of Mark next
yes,
week.
you are.
Monday and Friday. Wow. We'll have to check with Jason's schedule. I'm also working on a guest for next week. So everybody, stay tuned. Stay locked into DSM Media. See you guys tomorrow on Trending in the AM. And I guess it's Go Birds, right?
Go Birds.
It's got to be.